Find it. All right. It's all yours.
All right. Uh, how is this? Does this, oh, why am I not seeing? Are you
We're
seeing the
seeing we're
presentation?
seeing your slides. Yeah.
Okay, here we go. All right. Is it taking up the full screen? Like, is it clear?
Not quite, but it's viewable.
Okay. I'm doing it from a web version of, let me try this again. Hold on.
Admit some more people meanwhile.
All right.
Um, I think Eric, what you can do is I think if you go to uh, is it editing on the top right, you might be able to open it up in your actual application.
Okay, there we go.
Looks
Looks
great.
good.
Okay, good. Sorry about that. Yeah, so hi everyone. I'm Eric Rignali. I'm chair of the Communication and Branding Work Group. And one of the initiatives we took on within the work group was a member survey. And if you recall, and it's been quite a few months now since we initiated that. Um, Many of you participated, and we finally got that data kind of analyzed and put together a presentation. We made the presentation to the steering committee couple weeks back, and wanted to also now make the presentation available to the All Shield group. Also joined here by Kevin Schapp, who was a member of the group, and Andrea also participates in the group. I don't know if Andrea's on, but I wanted to call out the participants. Um, just a little background, on some of the things we did meet as a group. We came up with questions. We came up with insights we were looking to, address or to get information on, or to learn about the membership and Shield. So who's participating? Why were they participating? What's the value or importance of the Shield initiative to the stakeholder groups? What are the stakeholder concerns? Understanding constraints and people's ability to participate. Any suggestions that members might have. What sort of support the work groups might need to be successful, and you also discuss participation and engagement, how that could be improved, and how to measure success. So the survey was sent to All Shield and Steering Committee, to the All Shield and Steering Committee email groups. Um, we initially gave respondents 2 weeks to complete, but the survey was extended for an additional 2 weeks, and we did get 31 respondents to the survey. Here we've just kind of listed the specific survey questions. Again, looking to identify what stakeholder group you were representing, if you had a second strong representative of a secondary stakeholder group as well. Why you were attending Shield in relation to your stakeholder group, what your role was in Shield, um, what are potentially some concerns that you might have or your stakeholder group might have regarding advancing of lab interoperability. What would be the primary benefits to the stakeholder group, challenges to your stakeholder group, primary deliverables of Shield should be to accomplish its goals, and then how you would measure success. We also did include questions specific to working groups. So you were not asked these questions if you didn't indicate you were participating in a working group. But this was, again, geared toward um, understanding some of the challenges and getting recommendations on how to improve the working groups. All right, so we'll dig into the responses, and Kevin, feel free to just chime in if you want to add anything here. But so again, first question was, what is your primary stakeholder group? We did get pretty good representation of the different stakeholder groups here, other than we didn't get anyone as a primary stakeholder from pharmaceuticals. And but pretty good spread out across standard organizations, academia, laboratory, IVD, government, and software developers. If we add in the secondary stakeholder groups, we did even get a little bit more broad indication here. We had someone who had probably just one person had some pharmaceutical stakeholder, representation. But you can see how what that distribution was. So, and again, some of the questions were multiple choice, and others were, kind of more open-ended or free, text or comments. And in those cases, we summarized the answers that we received. So, in relation to your stakeholder role, why you're attending the Shield meetings, the primary reasons were to observe in order to report progress to other agencies, direct and guide the development of Shield strategies and its subsequent deliverables that advance interoperability, and understand how Shield interoperability efforts could impact product designs for vendors. Those are some of the kind of recurring themes. We did also include some specific select comments here that we thought were interesting or insightful. And this one is, in all likelihood, came from an IVD vendor. So I'll let you read that. And here was another comment from a LIS software representative. So, again, recognizing the value, recognizing the need, and certainly in a supportive, lending support to some of the goals. We then asked what your role was within Shield. So of the respondents, we had 39% of the respondents were Shield steering committee members, and 55% were all Shield participants, and a couple of people didn't answer. So you can kind of see, then we broke it down in the bar graph. So the majority were just all Shield participants, and then the next largest group was steering committee members that were also work group participants. The next question related to concerns that the respondents would have in terms of advancing laboratory interoperability. What were some of the obstacles, hurdles, that might prevent us from moving this forward. And you can kind of see the top three, certainly the complexity of it. Well known to that's nothing new there. Costs and unfunded mandates, maybe those kind of go hand in hand to an extent, right? What's the and maybe that again, follow that through to ROI. So how much will this cost? Who's paying for it? And what's the return on the investment? Interesting that we had 4 respondents questioning the need for this. So that's interesting. And then we did have allow people to expand upon anything that didn't fit into those specific 5 responses. So the other concerns we kind of summarized here. So kind of recognition of laboratory challenges, incentivization structure, would require mandates from HHS entities. Market cannot self-organize independent of incentives. So again, maybe just embellishing on some of the other categories of concerns, or commenting on those. Speed to deliver an implementable interoperability for the purpose of public health, and transferability of lessons learned to areas outside of lab result data exchange. So again, the complexity of lab data probably is what a recurring theme of why it's not, you can't apply other areas of interoperability or data exchange to lab so simply. So again, now looking at what the benefits to each stakeholder or to the respondent stakeholder group would be, again, we will summarize the responses here, and then I'll provide a couple of examples, responses that were particularly insightful. Summary was that the values were largely aligned with Shield strategic goals. Burden and cost reduction frequently highlighted, improved patient safety, improved health outcomes, and data quality for research was identified in most answers. The ability to confidently share data more broadly for various use cases was also mentioned. And then here's a few example responses. Just let you read these. So really a lot of value in a lot of different areas. Just the burden of sharing data, of exchanging data, lab data, the costs associated with that, the ability then one to probably more readily and easily share data, and then all the downstream benefits of that data now being kind of normalized in a way that you have confidence in it. Okay, so here now, again, we have some more open-ended questions regarding the challenges to adoption, and here we had quite a few insightful responses, and we did summarize them here and try not to replicate any, but you can see there's quite a variety of different challenges that were identified here. Lack of provider understanding of lab testing, gaining support from EHR and LAS vendors, challenges, again, to be able to fund some of those the changes to the software. What's the ROI again to that? Is it mandated? Is it bubbling up from customers requesting it? The lack of mandates or incentives, competing priorities, and a lack of or limited subject matter expertise in the area. The foundational systems to support interoperability at a national scale still require funding. limited resources at public health laboratories, you know, different stakeholder leadership engagement or buy-in without incentives, threatening existing business models that exist to bridge the gap or the lack of interoperability. There's, companies that bread and butter is that complexity, right? If this all worked seamlessly, they'd be out of business. Identifying where the data flow coding should be implemented to minimize work, maximize accuracy of data, and prevent opportunities for error. Concern about international consensus versus having different national standards going off in different directions. Return on investment is difficult to quantify, and effective implementation across the majority of institutions on targeted use cases. So this is more of a recommendation. I think this last one is, maybe look at different ways to demonstrate, the value. And again, I think we touch on that on some of the other questions. Here again, quite a variety of responses to the question regarding the primary deliverables of SHIELD. But I think this is an important question and look at, getting different input and maybe narrow this down a bit in terms of really what, how we can move the needle effectively. So certainly bringing the stakeholder communities together, I think that's really important. Driving adoption of the existing standards, advocate for funding, incentives, influence over the industry, influence over standards organizations, influence over government organizations. Again, I don't need to read through all of these. If you want to just take a minute here, we can kind of give everyone a chance to kind of look at this. Build awareness. I think we're all aware of the value here, or we wouldn't be here. Establishing or demonstrating some return on investment, promote the use of UDI. Guidance and education for lab professionals, I think it's another good one. We then asked, how would you, measure success? What are some benchmarks? What are some, specific, criteria that we could apply to see how we are progressing. So again, setting some percentage of adoption across different stakeholders. This was recommended 80%. CLSI Auto 17 becoming a reality. Measure labs adopting standards over a given period of time. Hopefully you would see that number increase. Having 10 leading organizations adopting SHIELD recommendations. Movement on incentives. Measure percentage of lab results with discretely defined CPT codes that also have LOINCs defined by IVD vendors. So looking at, I guess, IVD vendor, the data that they are providing regarding their lab results, doing connectathons, publishing of one standard per year that SHIELD advocates for. Establishing SMART goals that can be achieved in 12 months. So kind of breaking it down to manageable achievements. And I think that's an interesting one. Buy-in and funding for a strategic plan. demonstrating a decreased costs and financial burden. And expansion of SHIELD approach to other challenges could also be beneficial. Now we'll dig into a bit some of the work group related questions. So again, this was only for those respondents that were participating in work groups. And some of these are specific. You could, identify certainly which work group maybe they're related to specifically. Some cases it's piling, some functionality, publishing of the leader white paper, just building consensus within the work group. So you kind of read through these. Release a new publication, present leader at more conferences and gain recognition, standard organizations, expand participation in the work groups. The next question was regarding what expertise would be most beneficial for participation in the work group. So again, if some of the work groups have, struggled with getting enough participation, and again, maybe getting the right expertise within the work group. So these three were identified: standards, experts in standards, experts in lab data and IBD tests, and experts in system implementation on the LIS and instrument side. So these were some of the skills that maybe would be most beneficial or maybe weren't available. Then we solicited any suggestions on how to increase the work group participation, promote SHIELD more at lab and informatics meetings, publish an overview article, again, to draw attention and make sure people are aware that, the organization or the community exists. Alignment with industry incentives, demonstrate the practicality of leader to laboratorians. So again, more outreach there. Maybe some of it was just being a little more targeted in what the deliverables of the work groups would be. And again, maybe some steering committee assistance in that. Certainly funding, I think, is something. This is all volunteer work, and people have limited time they can commit to these groups. Along those lines, that's pretty much covers all of the questions and the survey responses. We also did want to highlight what some of the SHIELD achievements have been, along these lines for everybody. And Ricky, I know you had helped with this, put this together, so I don't know, feel free to chime in on this. But this, kind of goes through what accomplishments we've had for this year, the number of all SHIELD calls that have been held, the topics that we covered in these calls. So 17 calls, all SHIELD calls throughout the year. We also updated the roadmap to address comments that we received from ASTP, ONC. We provided feedback and comment on the USCDI 6 and version 6 and 7. We also were successful in getting presentation, slots at several conferences and webinars. the JAM conference, Summit CT business meeting, the ADLM webinar, and most recently the AMIA conference. So there's definitely been interest in the topic, right, and the subject and the initiative, and we've seen some of these organizations be open to having us present or having our members present. Continuing on the achievements, these are for the different work groups. The leader white paper was submitted for approval for publication to the steering committee. With pilot testing of knowledge management tool, create an example leader content to explore completeness and relationships. So these are the leader work group accomplishments. The data hub established a connection with Truveta. Standards and vocab provided feedback on container modeling to European Semantic Work Group. And then communications and branding. We updated the Shield flyer that could be used as a handout at conferences. We plug member survey, which we're talking about here. We do have a LinkedIn group that we established, and we provided support. We're monitoring for presentation opportunities, and in cases where we can submit, typically it's the presenters have to submit, but we're supporting those initiatives. And that's all I had. If there's any questions or anything that people saw that they want to discuss, or just open it up to anyone else that has anything they want to add.
Thank you for pulling that together. I know that, was a lot of work for the few people that make up the communications and branding work group. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah. Yeah, and again, took us a little longer than we would have liked, but yeah, it was a lot to go through, and but a lot of good information there, and we think it was hopefully was helpful to also get people thinking about what's the best way for us to continue to make progress. But thank you. Yeah, thanks, Ricky. And if anyone does have any questions, just feel free to reach out.
Yeah, any other thoughts?
Hey, Ricky, it's Steve. I was just going to make a comment about some of the barriers. I was just kind of looking at the survey we had from this group, and it was really similar to what we learned in some of our hazard analysis work. Over either with OTC, POC, or even in the lab data ecosystem as well. So yeah, it was just sort of resonated from and amplified, honestly, some of the barriers that we experienced during that analysis.
Yeah. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate that comment. Anybody else?
I would maybe just add one last thing, just to add to the list. I think that Andrea probably, did a lot of this involvement, but there was quite a bit of effort on the Shield side too. I think representation, around the Sequoia project work, around their IG and some of their work going forward too. So I don't know if that gets into the accomplishment side, but I think it's noted, that it was that was really good work as well.
Okay, that's a good thing. I'll add that to the accomplishments, because there were several Shield members that participated in that and supported that project. So
good call out.
Good call out.
I just want to thank Eric and Kevin again for all the work they did in this, because I think this is really helpful. And I don't know too if there's potential opportunity to take some of the things about advocacy and like putting it into like a journal article or something like that, geared to some of the stakeholders that were mentioned to try to potentially get more people involved and get more visibility for Shield. And I think this year there's been a lot of work from a lot of people with a lot of different presentations and kind of reaching out more. So kudos to everyone who's participated in that because it's truly been a team effort.
Yep. Definitely. All right. If there are no other comments, I will give you guys some minutes back and talk to some of you on the steering committee call tomorrow. Have a good one, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.